Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Sam and I'm a former teacher turned instructional designer who's been working in tech for over 6 years now. In today's video, we're going to talk about the differences between working at a smaller tech company versus working at a larger tech company. And we're going to kind of define small tech company as 200 employees or less, and then a large tech company as having maybe like 1,000 or more employees. So we'll talk about the differences in like team organization and structure, as well as types of work that you'll do, small versus big companies. And lastly, we'll talk about like total compensation, which is like your compensation, your salary, plus any benefits. If that sounds good to you, keep watching. So to start, we'll talk about kind of team and organization structure for a big tech company versus a smaller tech company. So if you're working on a team at a big tech company, generally the teams are bigger, they are more built out, there's more systems and processes and workflows that have been established. Joining a team at a big tech company is really great when you're first starting out because you get to learn a lot from people who have a lot of experience building out these processes, and you kind of get to see what it would look like and whatever your job function is from like a fully fleshed out perspective. Teams at a bigger tech company also usually have more of like a hierarchy or like an organizational structure. They'll have like associate level, they'll have, your standard entry level, then maybe like a senior level, a lead level of whatever role you're in, and then finally like a manager. Conversely, at a small tech company, your teams are normally smaller, leaner. There's fewer people who are taking on kind of more responsibility and kind of a wider array of jobs and functions on the team. For example, if you're at a small tech company as like an instructional designer, and you might be in charge of doing both instructional design work as well as like some LMS work or some, data input or management work for whoever's taking your training. While at a big tech company, you might be focused on primarily just like instructional design, building, and training content. So now let's talk about the types of work that you'll do at a big tech company versus a smaller tech company. So at a big tech company, like I said before, you're probably going to be joining like an existing team that has workflows and processes built out. So a lot of the work that you're probably going to be doing is kind of supporting either building new content or developing something new that falls along the lines of what's already been established and built. It also includes like maintaining existing content or projects that they've built, updating anything, as well as like improving stuff. You can definitely find projects like on the side at work to kind of boost your creativity and try new things. But I think for the most part, a lot of it will need to look kind of uniform and aligned with what everyone has already kind of been creating. At a small tech company, the types of work you're going to be doing is kind of a combination of creating stuff that already exists or in a format that already exists, but also, trying new things in a new way because there's not really a super defined workflow that's already been established. So you will be kind of, as they say, building the plane as it flies, which kind of means you're working to establish these guidelines as you're building content so that eventually you can work towards that kind of cohesive look and workflow for, when the team gets bigger. That's why it's important at a small tech company to kind of document everything as you're starting to build out training content or any content really, because you're going to eventually want to have some sort of guidelines to establish kind of what everything looks like so that there's a cohesive feel, establish those workflows so that people aren't just creating stuff in a kind of a disorganized way. At smaller tech companies, you also have a little bit more freedom to kind of think outside the box and work a little faster because there aren't so many like established workflows and processes that you kind of need to follow at a big tech company. Now, this can be either a good thing or a bad thing depending on where you're at in your career or what you're looking for in a job. You can either join a big tech company and kind of learn what it looks like to have these established workflows and processes, or you can, if you're interested in a small tech company, you're probably going to have to kind of come up with these processes either on your own or like with a small group and kind of make it work that way. All right, so lastly, let's talk about total compensation. And the reason I'm not just saying salary is because total compensation, in my opinion, includes things like your salary, your paid time off or your vacation, your 401k, and even like stocks and options. Now, in terms of compensation between a small and a larger tech company, I haven't found too much of a difference between just your base salary, so like the amount you get on your paycheck. But again, this is just my experience, so maybe that's completely different for someone else, but just from my experience. So in terms of total compensation for a big tech company, if it's a public company like a Microsoft or a Google or an Amazon or a LinkedIn, by public company, I mean it is publicly traded on the stock market, meaning you could go into your, investing app and buy a stock of this company. If you're working at a bigger tech company, you will probably get salary plus some sort of stock amount that you will get to receive after probably like a year of working at the company. At big tech companies, you'll also, get probably a good amount of paid time off, whether it's unlimited or if it's like 3 weeks per year. They're also pretty generous. Maybe this isn't across the board, but I feel like big tech companies are usually pretty generous with like things like paternity and maternity leave, and they'll usually offer some sort of 401k match, which means each month you can pick however much money you want to put into your 401k retirement account, and a big tech company will usually offer some percentage of a match of what you are also contributing into that 401k. Now, for a small tech company, if it's not a public company, you might get something called options, which is basically, if they're anticipating that they're going to go public eventually, they will give you kind of the option to buy stocks at like a lower price before it goes public, if that makes sense. I'm not an expert in all of this, but if you want to look it up, you can look up, stocks and options. And I've also found that smaller tech companies also offer pretty good paid time off or vacation. They'll probably have like unlimited PTO, paid time off / vacation, or, at least 3 weeks of vacation time, as well as honestly pretty good paternity and maternity leave. You may not get quite as big of a 401k match as like a larger tech company, but as the company does better, usually they'll like increase the 401k match over time or try to incentivize you in other ways. Other perks that you could think about are like food and, coffee in the office. I think all tech companies have coffee and snacks in their offices, but bigger tech companies offer like lunch every day. So yeah, that's kind of the differences that you might find between working at like a large tech company versus a small tech company. Now, this is just from my experience. It could totally be different based on other people's experience. So if you have experience working at a big or small tech company, let me know down in the comments below. It's nice to always hear from different people because everyone's experiences at different companies is totally different. And when you're applying to tech companies, you can definitely ask like, what are the benefits and, what are the different perks of working at the company? And the recruiter or like the hiring manager will probably tell you. If you found this video interesting or helpful, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe down below. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.